Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Nordic Sound Channel. As always, I am your host, Jameson, and today we have with us the highly requested, very anticipated Finnish sweethearts in Noiduin, here to talk about their creative vision, their backgrounds, and pretty much just themselves as musicians. Would you guys like to say hi?
Hi.
Hello.
Well, yes, we have with us Jemina and Henri. And I guess we'll just get started right here. I would love to know more about either of your backgrounds as musicians before Noiduin came around. What were you guys doing beforehand? How long have you been doing music? What drew you to music? Whoever wants to go first.
Well, I don't really have that much of a history. I mean, I've always kept to myself with music, and um, I love to learn new instruments. It's a thing for me.
Mhm.
I played guitar, piano, saxophone, accordion, tin whistle, whatever I can find.
Awesome.
And um, in high school, I had a metal band with my girlfriends, and after that, I was a singer in rock band. But
Mhm.
after that, I haven't really done anything.
What sort of rock and metal?
Uh, Mainly cover songs like
Mhm.
the Finnish bands Amorphis,
Mhm.
Sentences, and then Helicopters, stuff like that.
Cool. Awesome. I'm actually sometimes more impressed when someone doesn't have a history and all of a sudden they just sort of come up with something incredible that everyone just falls in love with immediately. So, if anything, I think that's more impressive. So, yeah. So your background's primarily in rock and metal. I have to ask, when did you pick up the talharpa? Or the
Uh,
actually, you can help me out here. In the Finnish name for it, how the hell do you pronounce that?
Jouhikko.
Yohiko.
Yeah,
Close enough, right? Okay, cool. Because
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
yeah.
whenever I have to say that word out loud, I just let whatever comes out of my mouth and just run with it. So, Yohiko. All right, awesome. When did you pick that thing up?
Um, it was some years ago when I was studying in art school, and I was poor student and couldn't afford to buy one. But obviously, I had to get one
Mm-hmm.
because I just fell in love with the sound, and
Yep.
so I built it, and that just started everything. This whole process for me.
That is so cool. How long ago did you pick that up? So, like, how long have you been playing?
Um, how long? I don't know. 3 years maybe.
Cool. That's impressive. All right. And then, so Henry, how about you, man?
Yeah, I started playing electric guitar when I was a teenager, and I was a big fan of Children of Bodom and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So, of course, I had to learn to play myself. And
Mm-hmm.
pretty soon, I started with my first metal bands, but then I was focused in black metal, and I still play in black metal band also. And I've been playing in different metal bands since. And also, I like to try new instruments.
Mm-hmm.
So I played a little bit of drums here and then, and I actually had a cello at some point, and pretty much everything goes.
All right. No, awesome. And I guess I would have to ask what I know that you do vocals. What do you do an instrument too in Noiduin?
Yeah, I play jouhikko also in
Okay.
live at least, and then we are gonna have more kantele in our
Awesome.
future songs, so I play that also.
All right. So two questions in one, I guess. When did you pick up the Yohiko? And when did you pick up the Cantella?
I think it was like 5 years ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I also built them myself. I never bought like a ready to go instrument, so it was like just wanted to learn how to make them and play them and
That is so cool, man.
feel the connection that people could do this like 1,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to experience that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that feeds really well into your guys' sound as Noiduin, right? Like exploring what things would have sounded like a very long time ago. Now, so if we're getting into like how the band came together, I'm noticing unsurprisingly you guys both have histories in heavy metal, extreme metal, like black metal, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And that seems to be like pretty par for the course, is what we would say in English, is pretty expected. And I love hearing the way. I would love to hear your guys' stories, like how you got from like this more heavy metal hard rock background into doing like acoustic music with like these ancient
Yeah.
instruments, right? It's like whoever wants to go first, what brought you to create this band and what drew you to this style of music?
Well, I don't really. Um, I listen to all kind of music,
Mm-hmm.
synthwave, classical, anything goes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I guess when I started making this music, it just happened. I can't explain it. I just took my talharpa and started playing and
Yeah.
noticed that suddenly I have made songs and then I had to start to record them. And,
Oh, that
it's
is,
an accident.
yeah, I love that. Did you at least have like any like early encounters with listening to bands like Vardruna?
Yeah,
Or yep, okay.
of course, yeah.
Awesome. So you just picked up the instrument. It's like, hey, this sounds pretty good. I
Yeah.
maybe I can write songs on it, and all of a sudden you've got an EP.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are the founder of Noiduin, right?
Yes.
What can you tell us a little bit about the name?
Noiduin means something like I cast a spell.
Okay, hell yeah, awesome.
And in Finland, we have this how do you say the kind of culture that we have witches.
Mhm.
We have always had witches, and even like Vikings have feared our magic and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So I thought that would be a good name.
Anyway, so I'm not surprised at all that you guys have that, especially considering your sound. Uh, Bashu, before I get into that, Henry, when did you stumble into Noiduin?
Uh, I used to have my own project called Myrrys,
Okay.
and we actually featured in each other's EPs
Yeah.
at first, but then we wanted to focus on one band and get the live shows going and stuff like that. So we focused on Noiduin, but I might do something with Myrrys one day when I have the time, and
Dude, I
maybe
hope you do.
yeah, and maybe take it to a little bit different path than Noiduin is because it wouldn't make sense to have two similar bands. So I can do something more like experimental or whatever I came up with.
Awesome. Dude, I hope you find the time for that because that sounds awesome. So you guys have been like playing together for a while? Like when did you guys meet each other? Like how did that happen?
Yeah.
uh, we met through a dating app.
Oh, awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
happy story.
Yeah, then we got married.
It's funny. I had no idea you guys are married walking into this.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I've got a whole new interesting question for you because this is what I love to ask couples who do music together. What is that like? Doing music and having to like collaborate on music together on something creative like Noiduin.
Well,
Well,
it's nice, but sometimes we disagree with each
Yeah,
other.
naturally.
I would say that it's easy, but
Mhm.
then again, I always have the last word. So
Okay. Yeah, because I just know that the other band that comes to mind is Newtland. That's another band in your style that is a husband and wife duo, and recently they've had their son included more in their music. And I know that they love having it around because there's no set band practice time. It's just be like, hey, I have an idea, I want to go work on it. And that sounds amazing to me. And then especially if you have someone who knows they have the last word on it, that makes the process pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
So is that kind of like how you guys go about it? You're both just it's like whenever, or do you guys like to schedule certain times that you work on it?
Well, actually, I think, well, Henry goes to regular job and I work at home.
Mm-hmm.
So quite often while Henry is at work, I make something and then
Okay.
he comes home and I say, hey, can you sing for this or play kandele for this? Stuff like that.
That's a pretty smooth process. So like
Yeah.
Henry knows that when he gets home from work, that's when the real work starts. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. So you guys get married, you come together on Noiduin, and now I have to get to the part where that I feel like it's going to be a lot of interesting stuff for the people that's going to be fans of you. So you have this name that is based on witchcraft. What is your actual like creative vision? We sort of talked about this before I hit the red button. Uh, in terms of like when you guys get together to like make Noiduin's music, what do you have in mind as to like what you guys are trying to either communicate or like what style of music? Anything goes with this question, really. Like when you guys make the music for Noiduin, what is that creative vision, that final product that's in your head usually?
Well, sometimes we have an idea for lyrics or
Mhm.
theme like that, and then we try to think what kind of atmosphere would go well with these lyrics. So
Mm.
that's one way to approach it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Or then for me, it's often about, about my feelings. If I'm
Mhm.
sad, I want to make a sad song.
So you guys typically start with lyrics, and then you sort of work around that. And where are you
Yeah,
drawing
or
lyrics? Oh, yeah.
sometimes we just play, and when there comes a good riff, so to speak,
Yeah, yeah.
and we just record it somewhere in the phone or something, and maybe later, if we figure out a lyrical theme, we can think that this riff would go well with this
Mm.
song, and then
Mhm.
start building the structure for the whole song.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So there's no real formula. You guys just go with whatever sounds good first, either the lyrics or the music.
Yeah.
Because I know when I first showed my wife Alinen for the first time, she said that it sounded like she was walking in on something when you guys are making music, right? Where like as a we just went to go see Heilung here in Denver last week. We've seen Vardruna a few times. And whenever we go to see those bands, it's like clear that like it is music that is written for you to sit down and listen to or to watch or something. And she said that there was just something about your music where instead of it feeling like something that is set up for you to watch, you just kind of like stumble through the woods and you like walk in on this. You're like, am I allowed to be here? So that's a big part of your sound too, where like you guys just have this very, it sounds like a very organic atmosphere that you guys create. And so I guess my question where this is going is that atmosphere something that you guys keep at the front of your minds while you're making the music? Does it come about just like as a result of the music that you make? And then further, do you guys have any other bands that you draw an inspiration from for when you were doing the music of Noiduin?
Um, I think it's something like I feel like I want some kind of atmosphere there, and then I just start experimenting with different kind of instruments or with my vocals and a lot of reverb there, and it's just happens sort of.
Yeah.
But obviously, yeah, I get a lot of inspiration from bands like Solstafir or Moonsoro,
Mhm.
Amorphis.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Henry?
Yeah, I got nothing to add.
Yeah, so I guess where I'm going to move on from the creative vision here is because a lot of what you're just to make sure that I'm not is that I'm saying what I want to say here. Your music is amazing, right? But what draws a lot of people to you guys is that in this genre of dark folk, whatever you want to call it, there's not a lot of Finnish bands, right? It's almost entirely Norwegian, and then there are some Icelandic and some Swedish, right? And so I want to make sure that like I'm being clear that like your music, even if you guys weren't Finnish, right, is still awesome, and I love what you guys do. But a big part of what draws people to your guys' music is how you communicate like the Finnish perspective. When usually people don't get to, Iceland has the same problem, right? People don't often, especially non-Scandinavians, don't have a lot of opportunities to hear Finnish music or Finnish lyrics, Finnish mythology, that sort of thing. Are there any particular parts about the Finnish tradition, Finnish culture, Finnish perspective that you guys are bringing to this music scene that you feel has been, sort of lacking or has been left out? And then, of course, if you want to speak more on the witchcraft side, please speak more on that, because I have a feeling that's going to be the bigger part of your answer. But just Finnish culture, Finnish tradition in general, what do you guys think you are bringing to the table of dark folk that was sorely missing?
Well, we have used actual uh,
Spell poems.
spell poems, old Finnish spell poems that been passed out like 1,000 years or so
Yeah.
orally from father to son, and we picked them from the book and figured that this would make a cool song. So yeah,
That is so cool. I'm sure Sibelius did the same thing.
Yeah.
yeah,
That he I read his memoirs. He's one of my favorite composers. I've taught classes on him. I've done lectures on him, and one of my favorite parts of his memoirs is when like all of a sudden he's just talking about going to see the last rune singer.
yeah,
And so that's really cool to me to see that you guys are drawing from that same source, right? Even though your
yeah,
music is wildly different, you guys are going to that
yeah,
same rune poem source. Yeah.
yeah. So and there is the Finnish mythology is so wide that
Hmm.
it's like endless source for this kind of music.
Hmm.
We have like a lot of books that they spell for basically anything you can
Yeah,
ask
yeah,
for.
yeah.
And I personally like to write lyrics myself
Hmm.
in the way of the old rune singing style.
Hmm.
So then I can bring my own ideas and stories and whatnot to the table.
Mhm.
Yeah,
For people who, because we are in a very niche circle right here of people who know what rune singers are.
yeah.
So for anyone listening who maybe they're hearing of rune singers for the first time, do you want to give a very short description or a little explanation of what it is?
Oh man, it's hard in English. It has basically eight
Syllable.
syllables for sentence.
Mhm.
So, for example, vaka, vanha, väine, möinen, which is
Mhm.
one sentence. So it rhymes when they just are stacked together. And there are
Okay.
certain words that can be used quite often and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So it's a own way of doing this rune singing.
And how about the actual like style of singing, like the vocals? Does it tend to be like a more traditional singing style with like as you would a folk song? Does it tend to have a bit more of a performance aspect to it?
Uh, well, there's this one tune. You sing it.
Yeah. We keep going.
I think there are different kind of styles because there are this kind of this where you cry a lot and
Mhm.
mourn, and then there's this also this certain tune that can be used for all the runes
Mhm.
or poems, which goes like Vaka vanha Väinämöinen with a
Yeah, thank you guys for the demonstration because my one of my advisors for my master's degree, her specialty was in laments and rune singing, and so she was one of the first to like go from the States to go around and like recording rune singers for her own work. So thank you guys for demonstrating that. It's such a cool tradition. It's such a cool tradition, and I'm hoping to talk more about it on this channel here because it's definitely worth more attention. Um, yeah. So besides the rune singing, what other tradition you mentioned mythology? I know you said there are a lot of books. You could talk forever
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
In terms of mythology or folklore, what are some different aspects of that that people who are more used to like the more Nordic or like Norwegian or something like that perspective might find interesting?
There are similarities in Finnish and Scandinavian mythologies, like, for example, our highest god called Ukko has wields a hammer and is a thunder god, quite
Mm-hmm.
like Thor, but then
Yep.
again, he's in a way more like Odin. So he's like combination of Odin and Thor in
Mm-hmm.
one deity. And then we have a lot of like spirits that are same in both cultures. For example, Näkki or Näcken
Mm-hmm.
in Swedish, and trolls are pretty common in both worlds, and house gnomes and stuff like that. So there
Mm-hmm.
are a lot of similarities, but then again, they are very much different.
Yep.
Like, for example, considering the gods, because in Finnish ancient religion, we didn't worship the gods so much.
Mm-hmm.
So we offered offerings to our past relatives and smaller spirits and deities, and we have to keep everything happy. Like, you have to keep your house happy, so you give like offerings to the house gnomes and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. So like everything has a spirit, and you
Mm-hmm.
know, if you fall to the ground and get a cut to your knee, then it means that you have angered the spirits of the ground.
Okay. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's why we have so many magic poems
Yeah.
to go with it.
Yeah, I mean that's very interesting because when you look at least the Norse or the Scandinavian side of mythology and folklore, that sort of stuff definitely prevails more in like the day-to-day folk traditions, like in the stories, in the little offerings you're supposed to do, like make sure you make the nissa, or in Finnish you call it a tomta. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, Tonto.
Yep. So yeah, I love one of my favorite characters. Same thing, right? But that's more the day-to-day stuff. And then you're right that the Norse seem to have this massive collection of stuff specifically for gods that
Yeah.
gets more attention. But yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. What about witchcraft, Jemina? We'll talk a little bit more about. We'll talk a little bit more about what witchcraft means in the Finnish perspective and what draws you to it.
Well, it could be more like day-to-day witchcraft, stuff like that. But then, of course, there are more complex witchcraft, like rituals and stuff like that you need to do. For example, if you want to hunt a bear, you have to do this like massive amount of different things.
Different rituals and different spells so that you can hunt it.
Yeah. And for holidays, there were like big festivals, like, and rituals you need to do in midsummer and midwinter, and
All the time.
yeah,
Something.
all the time, every
Just
day you need.
always casting spells, always doing
Yeah,
rituals. You got to keep, especially in a place like with the climate of Finland, you just got to keep the spirits happy,
yeah.
right? Awesome. So, uh, in terms of like, I'm thinking how this witchcraft thing moves into your live performance, right? I have not been fortunate enough to see you guys play live yet. I hope to very soon, right? Um, but I've seen pictures and clips from the way that you guys perform, and you do a lot of the stuff that we're familiar with in this music scene, like the face paint, the masks, and all those alternate personas, maybe. Um, so how does the witchcraft side does it inform at all the way that you guys like perform on stage, or do you like to see the way you perform on stage is a little separate from what influences you? If that question makes any sense, because I'm just fascinated whenever I see pictures or videos of you guys performing, and I see your your stage wear and how you guys carry yourselves on stage, especially in your photo shoots. I love those, right? So just if you guys have anything more to say on that, I'd love to hear it.
Well, obviously, we're going for that kind of shamanistic
Mm-hmm.
look. But for me, I think it's more of this psychological effect for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, because um, I'm terribly afraid to be in front of people and perform. So I think that this way I can separate myself from the woman who's on the stage. And
That's beautifully put. That's that's a big reason why masks have been used for so long across the world in music, right? Not just to separate yourself from the performer, especially if it's in a spiritual setting where you're meant to not be human, but something more than that. I also relate. I play music masked too. I've got the mask back here somewhere for kind of the same reason. I have been playing music since I was a kid, right? Performance anxiety I have been fighting forever. And finally, my wife makes this mask. I put it on. I'm like, oh, I can do this. This is awesome. So I get that entirely. Putting the mask on allows that. And maybe you can say more if it works this way for you, but also when you separate yourself from the performer, it can also give you a little bit more freedom for yourself, like to actually express yourself in different ways. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
That goes very well with my other bands. When I play black metal, I have this like huge hoodie and corpse paints, and we
Yeah.
really, um, what was the,
um, make an effort.
make an effort to our live shows, and
Mhm.
the same goes with Noiduin. We we want to really be the best experience for the audience.
Yep. And corpse paint is absolutely a mask. Like I
Yeah,
count that as a mask,
yeah.
100%. So in terms of the mythology of Finnish mythology, I know that you guys talked a little bit about it with Wisdom of Odin already a couple months ago, but and then we also mentioned a little bit about the overlapping characters between Oku and Thor and Odin. Um, but something else I'm interested in is a lot of what people love about mythology is the themes, right? The messages, the different, just like folk tales, right? The different scenarios and like what you can learn from them and what it tells you about a culture. Is there anything in particular to you guys that you'd want to highlight that's different about Finnish mythology in terms of either themes or scenarios or lessons, morals, maybe you can call it, that maybe aren't as present in the Norse or the Scandinavian mythology?
Well, I think big part of all Finnish religion was like respecting and giving offerings to your past relatives, like your
Mm-hmm.
grandfather or great grandfather died, and you have to still keep him in the family, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and not forget it. So that was a big deal, and even when the Christianity tried to convert Finns, but it more like fusioned together. So it
Yep.
still was with the Christian time, like giving these offerings in secret from the priests, but it was still going on
Yep.
basically for like 100 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
So they are like really old traditions
Mm-hmm.
that fusioned with Christianity, and that's why Finns are nowadays not that Christian anymore, maybe. Anyway.
Yeah. It's that's that ancestor worship or ancestor veneration type thing. It's interesting to me that that's more pronounced in Finnish mythology because people like to talk about ancestor worship or veneration in the Norse side of things, but outside of just saying who you're the son of or like doing things for your father's honor or something like that, I would say that that ancestor veneration is not actually as strong as people make it out to be in the sagas or the Eddic poetry. So it's really interesting to me to hear that there's more of an emphasis on that in on the Finnish side, and that would make sense, right? The harsher the climate that someone's living in, the more you have to rely on family, especially family that had survived previously. You're like, hey man, how did you do this shit? Because this is tough, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
anything else besides just the veneration?
Well, I just remembered I actually have a spell how to see your dead relatives in the cemetery,
Oh
but
yeah.
it requires a human skull and stuff like that. But yeah, it's really there.
Oh, I love it.
so, so it was a big deal.
Mhm. So when you guys talk about Finnish mythology, are you? This is just out of my curiosity. Are you guys generally talking about what you find in the Kalevala, or are there other sources as well?
There are a lot of other sources,
Mhm.
and Kalevala is just more like an epic
Mhm.
than what the actual religion was.
Yep.
Like.
Yeah, I don't think Kalevala is that important.
I would
Uh,
love for you guys to talk more about this because I this is something that I have trouble communicating, right? Because the Kalevala also is not that old, right? At least in terms of the written down, like the way that
Yeah,
it was written, right? Um, I would love for you guys to talk more about the Kalevala in the context of Finnish mythology, if you'd like. This is your platform. This is your place.
well, Kalevala, as I mentioned, is more like epic,
Mhm.
and there are these demigod-like characters. So there are just mentions about like Ukko and Ahti and the gods, but then again, it's more like about the demigods and what they did. And
Mhm.
Kalevala ends when the Jesus comes to the world, and
Yeah.
Väinämöinen is like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna leave you," and I come back when he's gone. But yeah, basically, Kalevala was passed on orally throughout the years, and it was just written down a few hundred years ago.
Mhm.
And same goes with the other old spell points.
hmm.
So if someone wants to learn more about Finnish mythology outside of the Kalevala, do you guys have any like recommendations for either like sources or stories or something like that that might give more of a perspective than just what the Kalevala offers?
Well, I don't think there are any books translated.
Yeah, in English.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard, and it's I feel like just now it's starting to come in Finland,
Mhm.
like so.
Do you guys think any of the massive renewed interest in Norse mythology? Do you guys think that has anything to do with the increased interest in the Finnish mythology too?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
might be
Yep.
because there are. It's in a way it's a bit similar. For example, for the music, we have same kind of instruments, and we basically looked at the same with our costumes and jewelry and stuff like that. So we looked like Vikings,
Yep.
even though we weren't Vikings. We had our own thing.
Yeah, because something that's always interested me about this is I've always had a very unique fascination with Finland ever since I discovered Sibelius. My love of like Finnish stuff branched outwards from Sibelius's music.
Yeah.
And I've even had a lot of Finnish friends ask if I was Finnish just because I have like this odd fixation on Finnish folk music. Like, no, I don't have any Finnish in me. It's just
Yeah.
so charming because it's different, right?
Yeah.
I get so used to all the Scandinavian stuff, and then whenever I tiptoe into like Finnish fiddling or something like that, it's just something different.
Yeah.
And so I love that you guys are sort of bringing that Finnish perspective to people who are more used to getting the Norwegian or the Swedish perspective on this style of music and mythology and ancient culture in Northern Europe. So, I just wanted to voice my appreciation for you guys to like sort of being. I'm not going to call you the first because I don't know if you are, but at least you are one of the bigger voices in bringing the Finnish perspective to this side of things. And so I guess on that note, do you guys have any other Finnish bands that you would recommend to people who are maybe so stuck on listening to you guys that they don't know where else to go for Finnish music in this style? Do you guys have any recommendations?
Yeah, there's Goi,
Mm-hmm.
and then Ruumisto,
Mm-hmm.
and well, Kallomäki, but it's
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 more
like
like folk metal, but they have jouhikko
yeah.
with them.
Awesome.
And
What else?
Well, I think three is a good start for people, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and so yeah, what I just love.
I have to
Oh yeah,
mention one really old, which has been
please
like
do.
inspiration for Einar
Mhm.
in Vaatruna. He has said that he is a fan of Tenhi,
Oh,
but it's played with acoustic guitars and bass and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
it's an old dark folk band from Finland, so have to mention.
There's a whole topic to be looked at with the albums and the bands that sort of like built Viking music, because what you'll notice is a lot of the musicians in this scene reference like the same handful of albums that are not that into like mythology or anything. Like you
Yeah,
have Garmana, you have Hedningarna, you have all of
yeah,
these like 90s uh I lost all the other ones off the top of my head, but you have all these bands that sort of inspired this scene. And then what I love about what this scene is doing is even though it brings in sometimes, people who get a little too into the Viking thing, if you know what I mean,
yeah,
it at least is sort of like the bait into learning about culture, right? And the bait of like, hey, you might actually learn something here. And so it's brought a lot of people into first Norse and Scandinavian. And then what I really love, and this is why I was so excited to talk to you guys, is that it has branched people out like almost by surprise, right? People don't get into it expecting to learn so much. Then all of a sudden they're listening to Finnish music, Icelandic music, that sort of thing.
yeah.
So anyway,
I
I'm really
have to
glad. Yeah.
I have to mention one great band also.
Mm-hmm.
If people enjoy Kantele in general, they have to listen to Nest.
oh
Nest.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Awesome.
just one guy playing Kantele and he does live shows and stuff. And we actually saw him play a few months ago. It was
Mm-hmm.
great.
I'm so jealous. I love that instrument. I've got an Appalachian dulcimer back here. It's a very, very watered down version of a cantala.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge fan of that instrument. And I guess speaking of which, in terms of like what's next for Noiduin, I know you guys just put out a Leanin as an EP. You guys work on anything new? Got anything new cooking up? Maybe some more cantala?
We have a couple songs that have been demoed, but
Yeah.
we just got two new members,
Mhm.
Mikko and Matilda, and we're kind of rehearsing to for the live shows, and
Awesome.
we're hoping that next summer maybe we can do some that's funny
Festivals.
make
Yeah,
festivals,
That
yeah,
would be
stuff like
cool.
that, yeah, and then maybe when we kind of infuse together more better, we can start to make new music together.
Yep, that's what I'm looking forward to because you guys are just getting started here, right?
yeah,
It's like still, you guys haven't. This is always something that I'm thinking about. Like, you guys haven't put out that much music, but the music that you had put out is like fucking awesome, right? So that there's a lot to be said about that because a lot of bands stumble at first, right? Try this, try that. You guys just went for the throat, is what we would say in English, right? You just come out kicking. So yeah, so guys, unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about, I just loved having you on. And I guess the final note I'll ask, just to set you up, Yamina, are there any misconceptions or misunderstandings about Finland, Finnish culture, Finnish people that you've experienced?
Well, I've heard a lot about that. We listen to metal music. We have only metal bands, and
Really depressed.
yeah, we're very sad, and we drink a lot.
Yeah, alcoholics.
Yeah, but yeah, I have to say that it's just all true.
Oh, beautiful. Because I have a lot of it's so funny because with a lot of my European friends, all of them are always talking about, oh, this we're misrepresented this way and this way. Every time I've talked to Finns, they're like, no, that shit's like all true. So guys, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you guys. I've really enjoyed it. Really looking forward to the music that you guys might have cooking up for us. Just keep it coming. You guys are onto something really special. All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
And so if people want to learn more about you, follow you, where could they find you?
Instagram, Noiduin, YouTube, Noiduin,
Facebook.
Noiduin,
Yeah.
Bandcamp.
Yeah.
We're everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with you guys, Bandcamp is probably the best place to support you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Please.
Yeah, I just always like to make sure I funnel people into the best place to support you, because that's always the toughest part of starting out, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you guys so much. I'm personally really hoping to maybe one day see you at a certain pagan music festival in Norway. That would be really friggin' awesome. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Midgard's Blood, but when I listen to your guys' music, I just know that it would be perfect in their Gildahallen, and I know that that would be a wonderful opportunity for you guys too. Yeah.
Yeah. We're waiting for the invitation.
Hell yeah! Well, I'm beating your drum. I'm sounding that Noiduin horn. So you guys don't worry. One day it will happen. I promise. All right. So thank you guys so much for coming onto the channel and sharing a little bit about your music, your backgrounds, Finnish tradition. Never too much to learn about that. All right. So thank you guys so much, and you guys take care, and please don't be strangers. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. It's been an absolute pleasure. Now, I'm sure it's very late for you guys. So get some sleep or have a drink, whatever you Finns do late at night, all right? All right. You guys take care.
Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.